Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to open this committee meeting this morning because we currently don't have a chair that is present in the room. Deputy Mayor Larson is usually the chair of this committee. However, he is attending online and understanding orders. We must appoint a chair. So that's going to take place through a vote. There's voting system A and voting system B in standing orders under standing orders 5.6. I think voting system B is the simpler of the two, so you just do a first round, and then if there's a tie between two people, it then goes to lot. So if you want to all vote for that, so if we go,
Yep, I can move that.
voting system B. And does anyone want to second that?
Yep.
Back to the, sorry, just one moment, Councillor Larson has a. Councillor Larson, do you have a question?
No, I was just trying to move or second something.
Oh, sorry.
I've taken my hand down again, so that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, we put that to vote. Those in favour?
Aye.
Right, I don't actually know how this works, but if someone wants to nominate. Yep, call for nominations for a chair.
I'd like to nominate Craig Jepson.
Mayor Jepson, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, just bear with us a moment. So you're going to rather brief process. So that's the adoption of the agenda like the usual.
Right, okay, thank you for that. So today, meeting for deliberations for Mangawhai Heads Concept Plan and Surf Club Lease. Monday, 24th of March, welcome. We'll start this meeting with apologies. Are there any apologies? No, okay. Confirmation of agenda. I'll move that. Have a seconder. Councillor Williams. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Conflict of interest declaration. Elected members are reminded of the need to be vigilant, stand aside from decision making when a conflict arises between their role as councillors in any private or other. For these members to the executive team attending the meeting to also signal any conflicts they may have with an item before the council. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? No, thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda is the minutes. 2.1, confirmation of previous open minutes that the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Plan Working Group confirms the open minutes for the following meeting is a true and accurate record. Please. Councillor Williams, a seconder. Councillor Howard. All those in favour, raise their hand, say aye. Motion carried. Thank you. So next on our agenda, item 3. Recommendation is this one here, right?
That's plan first, that's right.
Councillor Williams, thank you. All those,
Oh, sorry.
no, we don't, sorry, we don't put it to the vote yet.
Yep.
Okay.
Forgot.
Yep. So to present this item, we have Reporting Officer Mark Schreers, Infrastructure Strategic Planner. Welcome, Mark. He's online.
Hi. Online, yes. My apologies, team. I'm not able to be present with you today, so joining online. I am having some trouble hearing you due to some sort of sound cutting in and out. So some sort of technical issue going on there. So Jenny, if you're in the room, can you please take? Can I ask you please to take notes, just in case I might otherwise miss something, which I would hate to do. So with this agenda item, can you hear me okay, team?
Hello, just a minute, please, Mark. Councillor Larson, you got your hand up?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to confirm that I have the same issue with audio as Mr. Schreers. So it's not, it's in the room, it's not the, not at our ends individually. Thank you.
Okay, so
Sorry,
with this,
just
go
one
ahead.
moment. Just for 1 second. Sorry, through the chair, we are having some technical issues that we haven't been able to resolve. But if you need anything repeated, just let us know. And yeah, I think we can hear you when the sound cuts out, but you obviously can't hear us. So we will try and work with what we've got today and hopefully make sure that's working for the briefing.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the purpose with this item here is that we give full consideration to all of the points raised by submitters, and we're going to go through point by point. So we've got a large number of submitters, but across all of those submissions, there's we're able to summarize down to just a small number of points, or still a reasonable lengthy number of points. So a number of people submitted on the same point, or made the same point with their submission. So we've been able to summarize that down. So we've got a list of points which is in your report there, and there's a space next to each one for you to have scribbled some notes, which we can then discuss. And so what we'll do is we'll go through those point by point, and you can discuss each point and how you'd like to respond to it. Officers, staff, we've given some recommendations against each one. And it's very important to note here that as staff, we give technical advice. So it's a little bit like 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, we're officers. We look at the logistics of actually building something, doing something, maintenance requirements, etc. We give technical advice. As governance, you've got a wider role to consider all of the feedback and your wider constituents. So there's the advice there, sort of technical advice to assist there, and then there's a column there for you to put your thoughts in the governance space there, and then we'll go through those, and you can discuss your different thoughts on the submission points, and staff will record what changes, if any, need to be made to the draft concept plan. So essentially what we're doing here is we're making like a bit of a list of changes or not changes to the draft concept plan. After that, staff and through our consultant on this job will go away and refine the concept plan, and then we'll circulate that by email to make sure that we've captured your changes correctly. And then that'll go to the council meeting. So what you're ultimately doing at this meeting, the decision you're making is to recommend to council that they adopt a final concept plan as amended. So it's sort of looking at what if any amendments are needed to the draft concept plan before it's adopted. So if you're comfortable to proceed, we'll start running through the submission points.
Yeah, okay. On that basis, we'll have questions as we go, or clarifications on each item as we go. Thank you.
Okay. Now, is it easiest if I share my screen, or Alana, do you want to bring up the submission points? Shall I share them? Shall I share screen? It's probably easiest. If I can do that. Bear with me, team. I've only got the one screen. share.
Sorry, are you doing this or am I?
Might not work on my end. Sorry. I'm not so familiar with this platform. Normally I work through Teams. Sorry. If you want to just bring those up, Lana.
I will, just 1 moment.
Okay. So this first point that we've got here, overall satisfaction being generally low, so there's a justification there, I think, across the submissions to make changes. I don't think we need to record any changes or action against that one, but just noting that there is scope, I think, within the staff recommendation is that there's scope, we think, to make changes to the draft rather than adopting it as consulted on. Moving on to the next one there. There's a view that the current toilet blocks are satisfactory and should be kept. And staff confirm that they've got still considerable plenty of design life left and can be left, but looking to elect to members as to if that proposal to have them demolished and incorporated into the new commercial building should be, what your views are on that.
Councillor Larson, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I think that perhaps because it was a concept plan, thought that we were talking about a demolition anytime soon, where there is no plan to have any demolition anytime soon. I think all it meant was that if there was to be a future new building, that it would be a good idea to incorporate a new toilets into that building. So I don't think there's any suggestion that there's any imminent demolition of the current toilets. It doesn't mean that in the future there might not be a rebuild, but there's nothing budgeted, nothing planned at this stage. So that's really the point, I think.
Yeah, sorry. Through the chair, it might be useful if we move to the second point, the next point, first and discuss the proposal for a commercial building. So that is a proposal of the concept plan. Is that something that elected members would like to continue to would like to keep that in their concept plan, or would you like to remove away from that proposal?
Councillor Larson, you have your hand up again.
Well, I think once again it's a similar point, because there is no specific proposal for a building, and there is no budget in any council planning for any building, and no intention, certainly at this point, to be funding anything from a ratepayer perspective at all, because it's just a concept plan. And what the plan shows is there might be in the future the development of some commercial use, and that's about it.
Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following on from Councillor been saying, that it is simply a concept plan and looking to what the whole area could be and could facilitate in 30, 40, 50 years when the growth of this area continues and what we might need. So I totally agree with what was said, that there was saying that it's leave it on the ground.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, look, I was a bit tentative on this one, and but I've kind of come to the thought that planning is really important. It's not something that's always been done really well, Mangawhai, and I think if we're looking out to the future, 20, 30 years, you know, that will come about if something was to be proposed, not by council, but somebody else. So I think it's still got a journey to go, if anything was to be proposed. So I think to keep it in at this point in the concept plan is probably a better idea.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that. I think that's exactly I think we had a lot of pro forma on this when I went through the which we're not. And I'd like to see flexibility into the future. We don't know, we haven't got a crystal ball about what might happen in terms of the use of the site and proposals that might come at a later date, both from from the council or from the public. So that allows flexibility into the future. Talk to our community, and they have to support it. So I don't see a problem with retaining that flexibility. Thank you, Mark.
Sorry, team, I'm losing sound quite frequently. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a couple of technical notes. Firstly, you're absolutely correct that this concept plan is not time bound. While a concept plan does speak to the reasonably sort of near term, there is indeed nothing in council's budgets, and the budget planning documents, the annual plan, their long-term plan. That's when you actually say when things are going to happen and put money against them. So you're correct, it's not time bound. With a concept plan, we do need to be a little bit prescriptive in terms of built form. So for buildings proposed, we do need to give some detail around how big, whereabouts located, etc. Still reasonably concept level, it's not detailed design, but we do need to give some indication as to what's proposed. Given the sound issues, and I wasn't unfortunately able to hear all of your responses there, I'm going to pass to my colleague Jenny, who's in the room, just to facilitate this further discussion on this item and then record the response. That's all right.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
So just to reiterate what Mark was saying through the chair, it was a consensus of the people in the room that we would like to keep the commercial building in the concept plan as something that potentially could be
That's the feedback, I think.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair, could I just ask, I've seen Councillor Larson has just posted a message in the chat that they're still having out quite a bit. So when you hear that noise, I'm really sorry, could you possibly pause and then carry on once it comes back, if you can remember. But yeah, if we can try that, Mike.
Councillor Williams.
No.
Building, it's just an area that
Allocated.
potentially something could be within that space. So that's not like a footprint. That's an area that could be used. Just to make it clear that that's not a full, just a concept area. Yeah.
Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's another point of reference for this, is that it's very good and open conversations with the likes of the surf club as we built towards coming up with this concept plan. And you'll note that the concept plan is for the whole of Mangawhai Heads. And, part of that was a conversation that said that the existing building, as it is structured, still in the same place, would not be fit for purchase for growth in the surf club. Now, patently, everybody has agreed that one of the key issues here is that we must focus on the surf life-saving facility and resilience as a team, and they need equipment for that. So we're going to, going based on the surf club, down the track of more facility for storing of gear. I think that that's absolutely brilliant and part of the security of the future of the surf club. But, you know, no point putting your head in the sand about building structure to facilitate and in part to facilitate this being able to happen.
Jenny, what's this? You have something further to add?
Through the chair, would you like me to reiterate what
But
Councillor Howard has just said?
if you'd like.
So Councillor Howard is just saying that the building could also, commercial building could also be used for storage for the surf club. Potential future use and development for them.
Yes, mate.
Through the chair, Mark, can you hear us?
Off and on, I'm sorry.
That's all right. If you want to
but-
move to the next item.
The next item, yeah. If you recorded a consensus against that one, then we can move to the next item. I think the next one's actually similar regarding having a food truck venue. A space for food trucks. So we can probably move on because I think that's been covered already in the discussion there. Let's carry on past that because that's all been covered. There's also this one here, some supporting commercial space. Again, that's commercial space, we've discussed that. Okay, can move on past that one. Okay. Prioritizing natural environment. Again, I think that's referring to that largely to their food space there, isn't it? So I think you can move on past that. There's the Surf Lifesaving Club. There's a general consensus for it to remain in the current area, which is where it's shown on the concept plan, so that's no change there. Did any of the Lease members have any thoughts against these points? Sorry, team, the sound quality is so bad. I might at this point hand over to Jenny. Jenny, are you able to lead the discussion from here? I'll be available online.
Okay, first of all, we've got Councillor Williams. We'll go to Councillor Larson first. He's got his hand up. Councillor Larson.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I thought that the hearing was really useful on this point, and I want the surf club to, be able to do the best they can and do things kind of as best as they wanted to. And I thought that being able to operate from their existing site seemed to be quite strong, and I agreed with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Okay, so just on the point of the surf club, I've just made notes that gear collection I think it's down at the moment as 3.
Yep.
And we could incorporate a turning area for those car park users, and then it's actually an area then for emergency services to then access. So I think where I was going with that is it's not actually a public access road, but it's parking access. Larger and accommodate that. I think that's where I was wanting to go with increasing the parking there.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Alana's requested a 5-minute break so that she might be able to handle these technical issues. So go and get a cup of water or a cup of tea or whatever for 5 minutes. We'll reconvene. Thank you.
we're just testing the sound. Hear us okay? Yes?
I can hear you. Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Right, that one might not work.
Councillor Larson.
Yeah, I can hear fine, thank you.
Good.
It's just me.
Okay, let's reconvene. Thank you, Alana and Tracy, for trying to sort that out. I think we might be there, are we?
Fingers crossed.
Okay, Mark, would you like to continue where you left off, mate?
Okay, so I think we're on to the surf club, which in the concept plan is proposed to remain more or less in its same location and redevelop on that same location. That was largely supported by submitters. In addition, a number of submitters made some points regarding
Excuse me,
access to the
Mark.
surf club.
Excuse me, Mark, sorry to interfere. Don't hand up then, Councillor Larson.
I'm just happy to speak after he's completed what he's got to say, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so in addition, there were a number of submission points regarding access to the building, car parking for the building, etc. So staff are simply advising that the surf club activity remaining more or less in the same location seems to be a good proposal, and is widely supported. Car parking, the only note from staff was that reserved car parks for the surf club don't necessarily need to be located immediately next to the building, so you can have a limited number of reserved car parks next to the building and other reserved car parks in the wider car park if desired. And allowing sufficient space for a vehicle to turn at the end of the access way to the surf club building. That does make sense, we think. There's also the proposal of the suggestion of a helicopter landing area, and staff noting there that it's quite common practice to land helicopters on sports fields or areas which are used for other purposes than a dedicated set-aside area for a helicopter to land, so long as there's sufficient space free of trees and picnic tables, sufficient grass area, and there's people available such as volunteer lifesavers or firefighters who can secure the area and keep the public away for a moment while a helicopter lands. So, I suppose the staff suggestion there would be to allow an area of the ocean park potentially for helicopter landing, and otherwise largely continue with the proposal as elected members had it in the draft concept plan. But over to elected members, the points around around the surf club as to what elected members would like to recommend there, any changes or anything to remain as is. So over to you.
Councillor Williams.
Yeah, so what I've got down here to retain that green space, that ocean park in the front, I think it's currently F.
Yep.
And yes, there could be, if it's free of furniture and it's clear, if a helicopter needed to land there, I think that would be, that would be fine. And did you note my points, Mark? You might not have heard me before about I'd said about perhaps 6 car parks down by the surf club with a turning area in K. So at the moment it was 3. And I suggested perhaps it could be 6 with a turning area and that would be an area for the emergency services to be able to also come down. It's all free of the public, and utilise that space as well. So that might change the size of the ocean park, but I wouldn't think it would be by much to accommodate those parks for the surf club.
That can be done. Is that the consensus? Do we want to go to 6? The staff recommendation was to we don't need a lot there because you can have them in the main car park. But we're looking to the members for consensus there. Is the consensus
That's my thoughts on it.
6, 4, 3? Can we get a consensus?
My view would be, we want to, again, it's flexibility. That might not be anywhere near what the surf club might ideally like, but you've got a reasonable number plus space for emergency vehicles. So yes, I would agree.
Councillor Larson?
Yeah, the message I got is that they want more, and I agree with what Councillor Williams has raised. I think that we should make room for 6 car parks and the ability to be able to turn around, be that a 3-point turn or whatever. And with the other points that were raised there, I agree with retaining the Ocean Park green space. Look, the helicopter thing's a good idea if it would fit there. I think the whole helicopter landing thing is a bigger consideration for the whole Mangawhai community, and there are other helicopter landing points also being mooted. So I think open space is a possibility for being used for that. Whether it ends up being dedicated, I'm not so sure about that. We perhaps need to look at that in a bigger picture thing for the whole of town. Yeah, the retention of their current location, I think, is good as well. Thank you.
Mark, I would look at that for the group. Move on.
All right, second to keep it. I think it's a drop out again.
Councillor Larson, put your hand up again.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it might not relate to this exact point that we're on, but I think the other point I just wanted to raise is the access to the surf club. I think that some people got the impression that with the way that the drawing was a little bit recessive around the access, that you know, maybe it wasn't for proper access, but I think the intention is that it is for proper vehicular access to the surf club, and that's obviously evident in the conversation about the parking. I think the way it's drawn is fine, but maybe we just need to make it clear to the public that we want to keep access for the key stakeholder there being the surf club. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mark.
Sorry, Alana, can we have the submission points back up again? I think the next thing was car parking. The key proposal is to expand the car park, and that seems to have been widely supported by submitters. I think the only so I think if we can have a consensus that we're still happy to expand the car parking, and then the other point really to raise to go into there was the proposal for a car park building. So again, consensus if we want a car park building or not, and that's probably the only 2 things to cover off under car parking.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, look, I agree that it's a priority to extend the car parking up there. And I think what I would like to see is that there is a budget allocation for this, potentially in the 25-26 financial year. But I just want to make really clear that this is not from general rates. This is from the reserve contributions, well, the financial contributions reserve fund that Mangawhai has, that developers and people who are subdividing actually pay into. So it is funding, but it's not coming from general rates. And I think that we do need to allocate budget to this and start the design and all of that as soon as possible. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Councillor Larson.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yep, I agree with the car parking. Starting to look at how that gets expanded and not having a parking building. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I'd agree to have a parking building, but yeah, allocating as much parking as we can within reasonable limits is desirable. Councillor Williams.
So just another quick point. I note that the submitters had also mentioned about the summer bus stop at peak times. It's actually, when it's stopped, it's actually holding up the access through and around.
Yeah.
So obviously that requires a bit more of a pull and bait area, so not to disrupt the flow. So I just wanted to make that point too, that should be a key consideration, because we'll need that bus to continue in the future.
Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on this point, I mean, I concur with all that's been said, but what I think is that in these sections that we're talking about now under parking, that there is still elements for future consideration. And I'm remembering that this is the concept plan. I keep bringing this back for the reality. Well, we haven't explored or exhausted all the options that there are for car parking. And as noted, we will never have enough car parks. So the thing is to make it all as fluid and flexible as possible. And we know that there are opportunities that actually have been raised by submitters who have been very positive about the whole concept and submitted about the use of Woodhill Street in front of those houses that as you approach this whole area. So there is more that can be done. And I think that if we are going to fund or provide any funds, perhaps the exploration should have an element of looking at what realistic options we do have in addition, because there are some we've talked about. Other than that, I mean, I think that is part of the planning. Let's not just accept this car parking as we have and the additional car parks that we've got. What can be done realistically over a number of years to enhance this?
Thank you. Councillor Larson.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to say that I agree with the point that Councillor Williams has made about a pull-in bay that doesn't disrupt the traffic for buses. So if the bus can pull in a bit further and get off the carriageway so that cars can still pass it, that would be good. I know it's in a technical detail layer, but it's still an important point that was raised. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. So the next thing we had was regarding access ways. So the first thing there is probably the access to Picnic Bay. Noting that there's the way we're drawn it in the concept plan, there's no access to the high tide beach. The only access will be at low tide. So the staff recommendation there is to add a new access point that would take go down to the high tide part of the beach. And yeah, so there's that to discuss, and a staff note that the current access down to the high tide part of the beach seems to be channeling stormwater, so we probably need to create the new access nearby, but not in exactly the same location. What's the views on that?
Councillor Williams.
Yeah, look, I agree with that, and I think there needs to be some really smart design in that area.
Yep.
Because that is really the main access point, like you say, high tide mark. It's also something that one of the submitters raised about the line of sight down to the, the water area down there if there was ever a rescue or anything like that. So I think we do need to look at that design, and there can be lots of ways that we can maybe get the community involved in something like that. They might have some ideas, or, it's something to look into anyway, but I do agree that we need that access point urgently looked at and reopened, and make it as safe and usable as possible.
Councillor Larson.
Look, I agree with that, and that came through very clear in the oral submissions that there was real importance that they be able to get down there quickly around into the channel for rescues and what have you. So retaining something down there that gets you down there quickly, maybe not on the exact same location, but something similar, or maybe coming down to the estuary park and then down to get a better grade or something. But in that detail, that can be come out in the detail. I would take it a little further, and I think that what we should be doing is adding, when we get to a decision on this, adding to the recommendations a fourth part that that the working group recommends to council that we upgrade the access way, and that the budget say 300,000 be allocated to this from Mangawhai reserve contributions in the 25-26 financial year and actually get on with it. That's my thoughts on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually went down there on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday with Councillor Williams to have a look at Picnic Bay specifically, and there's quite severe water erosion going on there that's wiped that existing access out, more or less. And so what I'd like to do, or to see, I'd like to see that whole area G. I'd like to see us move quite quickly to remove all the pines, the flame trees, the gorse, the agapanthus that's there. Give ourselves a blank canvas to look at, and then do have a look at the levels, topography, and then make a decision where the best place is to reintroduce access down there. It might well be where it is now, but we're going to have to carefully do that so that we allow for that stormwater that's coming down there, so it doesn't re-erode it and destroy whatever we put in. But that's a matter of good design, I would guess, and I'd like to see with you know, the ethos that this council's got now, I'd like to see local people do that work, local builders. I'd like to open it up to the community to be involved and come up with the best solution there that'll serve Picnic Bay for people that want to get down there. Councillor Howard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Totally concur. And in addition, on this area G, which I think is, when you look at the topography of it, you know, even as it is an exciting prospect to add more usability for this whole area. So, but with that, and while on the point of access to Picnic Bay, I think that we need to look at something. There's a little piece of, you know, sand illustrated halfway along there on the seafront. We certainly, when we review it and we clear out, as you say, those trees and the likes, look at access from there, because if you're going to encourage more people to use and have that facility, to have more people using it, they will want access to the beach. So we can do it maybe from that area specifically identified as Estuary Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've covered that. Councillor Williams?
Just thinking on the other side for access, we had somebody come and talk to us, a submitter on that, and I just wonder the lower point down by the surf club where the stairs are, that is good access, but we could maybe look at something there too, you know, just to help with that area and getting people down to the beach on that lower end. I don't know what, I'm just saying it was just to be mindful that could be a consideration to help people access the beach.
Thank you. Okay, Mark.
Okay, so the next point is regarding wheelchair access to the beach. Some people wanted to have a more wheelchair accessible beach or more accessible beach. The staff recommendation there is that given the slope and the height difference between the car park and the beach, that we're not going to be able to, or it's unlikely we'd be able to build a fully wheelchair compliant access, but we can certainly try and build accesses which most people can manage within their abilities, including people with mobility needs can within their abilities, but fully, you know, they're meeting the full standard is unlikely to be achievable. Any comments regarding that?
Councillor Larson?
Yes, I agree with the staff technical assessment. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, Mark, have through.
Okay, so moving on. I think that covers everything for access. So grass areas and parks. So there's a number of submission points here regarding generally to the effect that people like and value the natural green open space elements of the reserve. Desire for native trees to be kept. various points there. And I will again pass it over to elected members for any direction or any thoughts regarding these elements.
Councillor Williams.
Through the chair. I think as part of this, I think as a working group that we should recommend to council that we work with NRC on the removal of the pest plants that are up at the reserve. I think it's personally gotten a bit out of shape up there, and I'm not too sure what's actually happening in that space. So I think that would be a matter of urgency, just to tidy up those areas that have got the woolly nightshade, the gorse, the toy, all of that. And I think we need to go to NRC about that and work with them. So that would be my way forward on just the pest plant issue that's up there.
Thank you, Councillor Larson.
Yeah, I certainly agree with the point about using our relationship with the NRC. It's really their mandate is to get rid of all those pest plants up there. And I think that the draft concept plan intends to and does show a good integration of natural amenity planting and enhancement, and you know, that's something that's already in there, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments on that? Okay, thank you, Mark.
Any comments from elected members regarding the past sites or areas of past mulberry occupation?
What item are we up to now?
So a number of submitters. No, I should specify in here, particularly for the benefit of the public and those who did raise these submission points, is that we have reached out to Mana Whenua for comment regarding these areas. And yeah, there's also, particularly when we go to actually do any work on the ground, there's a requirement to work through the requirements around archaeological sites, etc. as well. So there is a level of protection in place through that as well.
Any comments regarding that?
So what point are we up to on here? Can you? Oh,
Okay, are we all right to move on?
Yeah,
I mean, I'd just make one comment about that. We have our obligations to areas, so they will be followed in the approaches that we undertake. Right, Councillor Larson.
Yeah, I'm just struggling to follow on my version here. So you're up to, that's that point. Just trying to find that point. Oh, yeah, I found it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with the advice there that there are statutory obligations that need to be met under the RMA and under Heritage New Zealand requirements. And so if there's ever any future proposal to develop there, then they'll all need to be complied with. It's quite simple. Thank you.
Yep,
Great.
that's essentially the staff advice there. Very good. Next, what have we got next? Okay, so there's a number of points covered here, and I might just mention particularly for the benefit of any community watching this. So it's I think useful to note that this report has been read and considered by elected members, and you know, there's the opportunity then to make notes against each of these submission points. So we don't need to go necessarily blow by blow through each submission point here, but I'll pass to elected members with this. If you took any notes here, or if you wanted to make any recommendations for changes against these points.
Any comments, Councillor Larson?
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think that the staff are correct there. That's a maintenance issue about the sand, if that was to occur. And, you know, a lot of these other points here is to the suggestion of undermining of a toe of the retaining wall. I didn't actually see any retaining wall. Maybe there was an assumption that there was a retaining wall due to the grade or something like that. You've got appropriate materials and things. I think that any of these, any of these future works things would have to be properly designed, and consideration would be given to these matters at any future detailed design stage. I think there's plenty of checks and measures in regard to that, and this is really a high level concept plan, so I think that they can be considered later, depending on what was to happen there.
Okay, I've got one comment to make there. I just recently went to a presentation by Jim Darm, who's a 71-year-old expert. His thesis was on coastal erosion. He spoke up at the NRC, and I'm going to try and get him to come down and do a presentation where we can get the Surf Club, all the other players involved in our harbour to have a listen, actually, because I think he had some awesome experience and some good answers to erosion that they've been using down in the Thames Coromandel. It's been involved in it quite intimately, and I think a lot of this is about educating ourselves on what the options are to get the best results with our foreshore. So, yeah, I agree also with Councillor Larson that you need good design, good thought going into anything that's done, and we need to work with other parties to make that happen. Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I agree with that comment that again, it's in keeping with what we're talking about and keep reinforcing this is a concept plan, and we'll need some really good design on all elements as we work through to a final. But I noticed the note here in this section, Area F, the Ocean Park, and some correspondence saying that cuts off access to the beach. Now, first off, I don't think that that's necessarily true, because you can have that facility. The key factor here might be if you include a helicopter landing area for that and the variability of use of that. So I think that we've already just talked about the roadway, that it is a specific roadway specifically for surf club car parks down the bottom. So I think that there is no doubt, I have no doubt, that when we do detailed designs, there will be angles that you can, and lines that you can have off Ocean Park and down to the beach. And as Rachel has also already raised, an element of access way down the road and down the surf club ramp. So I'm sure that access to the park is a positive that we will address properly as when we go through it.
Thank you. Councillor Larson.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just wanted to add to what Councillor Howard has said, in that I think on the concept plan it's shown as the ocean park's shown as a big grassy area, but that doesn't preclude there being a boardwalk along the top of the beach area there, depending on how that was laid out with what was wanted in the way of benches or tables or whatever in that area. And so I think firstly, as Councillor Howard has quite rightly said, there will be access, and that access may end up being more defined than just being a grassy area, but at a concept plan level that doesn't include putting that detail in at a more detailed design stage. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Proceed on, please, Mark.
Okay, so I think that takes us to the conclusion there of going through the submission points. So so staff have taken notes there regarding your direction on how to amend the concept plan going forward. I think just maybe just taking a moment to consider all of the submission points there, and the concept plan as it was consulted on. Do elected members feel like we've covered everything? Is there any further amendments that need to be made? Any further direction to staff as we go away to finalise that concept plan?
Councillor Williams?
Thank you, through the chair. I just missed something when we were in the car parks. I had written down here, we've got accessible car parks, 2 parking spaces. I just made note that maybe we could have 4 there in the main car park. It was just to look at that, obviously when we're designing, but I think we need more than 2 in the main car park. So just to tack that onto the car park points, please.
Is there a consensus on that, or do you want to give a direction that we do an assessment, or do you want to just say 4?
Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Williams has raised. I think at the car park design stage, do an assessment and consider having up to 4 accessibility parks, if that's possible. And I think it's a good point she's raised. I think it's a good point that you raised, though, that we do an assessment and you know, follow best practice around providing those parks that can be used. And sometimes they do take up quite an area if they're fully accessible. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'll support that direction to Mark.
And with me.
And with Councillor Howard.
Very good. Were there any other points for staff as we go to finalise that concept plan? Or are you comfortable we've covered everything?
I think we've had a good discussion.
No, I think we've done well, Councillor Howard.
And when you go through this, there is an incredible amount of detail of, you know, you see here, some people have gone to technical aspects of some parking. So you've captured it all, and you've captured it well. And it provides another excellent platform for our designers to rework things.
Okay, thank you. So we need to, I think you can stand down, Mark, on this now. Councillor Larson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just when we move to the decision-making part of the meeting, and I have flagged that through the discussion, there are 2 things that I'd like to add by consensus, and maybe when we move to the recommendation, I can raise that with you then.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Okay, as a mover, Councillor Howard.
I think that, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I believe that as of here and now, we've gone through a very rigorous process and detailed process. My hope is that with the process that we've gone through and the formulation, that's not probably the right word. I hope that allows the people that will now take it forward optimal flexibility to address the needs, the real needs of the future, and to come up with a concept that the whole of New Zealand, certainly the whole of Mangawhai, can be so proud of. Thank you.
As a second, Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I think this has been a really beneficial process that we've been through. It's been great to hear from the community and their thoughts on it, because obviously, you know, there's a wide-ranging view of how that area should be developed. And I think for the most part, we're focusing on, you know, the important areas in the concept plan. And I think we've kind of come to a good consensus, I think, in a way forward for for us to proceed in the future. So, yep, just looking to the future, I think we've got to a good place.
Thank you. Councillor Larson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I had wanted to amend the motion by agreement, but you've moved to speaking, so that I can still technically do that now by agreement with the mover and the seconder, rather than going through an amendment process. And so what I was trying to suggest, if we can have the motion up on the screen, perhaps. So what I'd like to suggest, and if you can just take this by dictation so the members can consider it and maybe make some changes to accommodate it. Our point D recommends to Kaipara District Council that it work with Northland Regional Council on the removal of invasive pest plants in the Mangawhai Heads reserve area as a matter of priority. And then I'd like to add a point E. Just bear with me, I've got some notes. And this is in relation to the access to Picnic Bay. So what I'd like to say here is that at point E, recommends to Kaipara District Council, that's the terminology we're using here, that the upgrade for Picnic Bay access have a budget of $300,000 allocated for design and construction from the Mangawhai Catchment Reserve contributions funds in the 25-26 financial year. So I just put that up there for the consideration of the mover and the seconder, if they would be happy with having those two points included in the motion or some amendment to those.
Back to you, Councillor Howard and Councillor Williams. Are you satisfied?
I'm satisfied. If I may, just to query, I totally agree with those, but I'm just thinking, we've had the issues with NRC and the seawall and things like that. I just wonder whether there is an option to have discussions for us to take forward discussions with NRC on it. I mean, is there anything else that we could include in that is really the question. I don't know.
I agree with the points that that Jonathan has raised. There has actually been well, not so much a talk, but we have gone to NRC
Yeah.
about funding and that. So I think we just keep that separate out of here because we've already done that. It doesn't really form the concept plan,
Right, okay. I
kind
just,
of moving forward. So I think we should, that's definitely, you know, front of mind, but I don't think it pertains to what we're doing here at the moment.
Okay, well, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
We move to the vote.
very good.
Move to the vote.
What to do a statement?
Yes, councillor Larson, want to make a statement?
Hey, yeah, thank you for that. Hey, thanks everyone for participating in this process, and sorry I couldn't be in the room today. I particularly want to thank the staff that have been involved here, and today, Mark, I just want to mention that the introduction that you gave at the start of this meeting was really excellent and really clear about what we were doing and how we were approaching this process, and it really helped to set that out for us. I think that the public response to this process was really strong, and I found the hearing process really helpful to hear people come and give their oral submissions. I really got a lot of good input out of that, and it gave me some reassurance about how to make things better around this area. So I think we've got a good concept plan. It is just that, a concept plan, and it's a good basis for future planning around this critically important area, and an area that's particularly important to beachgoers and the surf club there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing to that too. Yeah, I found the submission focus really interesting because it showed me quite strong some of the thinking in the community. So it was good feedback, and we've responded accordingly. Movers want to reply before we go to the vote. Councillor Howard.
I think we've covered everything and added good points there, so I think we'll leave it at that. Very happy with the conversation.
Thank you. So let's put that to the vote. All those in favour raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair. Could we just have a break before we move on to?
Yeah, like we'll have a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
We'll have a wee break. Yeah. It's reconvened today. Next on our agenda is the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service Lease Deliberations. We have a recommendation there that the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Concept Plan Working Group notes the decision-making process for the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service Lease Deliberations provided in this report. Directs the Chief Executive to amend the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service Lease Heads of Agreement in accordance with the direction given during this deliberations meeting. And C, recommends the amended Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service Lease Heads of Agreement to the Council for adoption. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Howard, seconder. Councillor Rachel Williams. Okay, can I have, once again, I think it is Mark.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So with this item, there's two technical notes I need to clarify. So firstly, in terms of negotiating a lease, that's something that will be led by the Chief Executive and the Council's legal counsel. That's quite detailed, and that's done in public excluded session. What we're looking at here is sort of the high-level governance direction. We're in open session, and we're looking at the sort of the high-level direction around granting this lease, and we're also looking particularly at the public process under the Reserves Act, where we consult with the community on the proposal to grant the lease. So, looking at the points raised by submitters and giving that high-level direction to staff and to the Chief Executive to then take forward into the heads of agreement and then take forward into the detailed negotiations and discussions that will follow. So setting those high-level parameters and direction. So that's the first key thing to note. The second thing to note is there was some discussions around, or some points around the surf club being allowed to undertake commercial activities within their site. And that's a different section of the Reserves Act for granting a lease, and the staff recommendation there is that the best way to address that would be to grant a lease for surf lifesaving operations, and then allow the Surf Lifesaving Club to apply for concessions for things such as providing food or beverages. There's a concession process that can be followed to progress that should they wish. So that's the two technical notes just to put up front, and I'll actually pass you now to my colleague Fleur, whose role is in the lease space.
Thank you.
Morning all.
Morning.
I'll just take the report as read. Any questions from yourselves?
Okay, anyone would like to ask any questions, please? Councillor Williams.
So just to get my head around this, so the recommendation isn't referring to any amount of time of the lease. That is up to us now to deliberate and to put something forward. Is that where we go to next?
Mark, can you just confirm, is it at this point that we would talk about that or at the briefing?
No, so that's something we can cover here. So high level things in the heads of agreement, things like the term, and that was the main thing which has come back from the communities that they recommended a longer term. So that is indeed something which can the working it's the hearing panel, the working group can advise the council. So you can advise the council on things such as location, the term, the use of the site, etc. So it's looking at the points raised by submitters and then advising the council, recommending to the council the heads of agreement should be along these lines. So yeah, particularly things like the term, the location, if there's any particular points raised by submitters that we think need to be given effect to. So I say we, the hearing panel.
Just follow on from that. So I think for me, it's not really very clear where the actual location is on the lease document. It's quite an old document. That's right. So are we able to request that we actually get some further information and a really defined, so we actually know what we're.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll ask PCS, we can get them to do a defined drawing. We may have some already on file from previous discussions with the club, but we can go back through that.
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
See Jonathan's goals.
Councillor Larson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. No, I think my question's been asked and kind of answered there. Yeah, I came to the same conclusion. It was hard to see what was defined. I think the point here is that we're, as a working group, are only going to be making a recommendation to council, and the whole council would need to adopt any final new lease document anyway. But I think that the council would want to see that document anyway. So that's good if you can prepare that. Thank you. With a lease area overlaid onto a modern aerial map. Thank you.
Councillor Howard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just following on from that, totally on board. But I just wonder, without having a lot of experience with lease, what restrictions are there if you set a lease for a given period of time, but then changes are requested or in any form? So do we have a problem with that, or is that just a process you've got to go through?
Yeah, it's through the chair. So if the club were to sign a lease agreement with us, and then there's changes that are required, we come back to council, staff would come back to council for a variation to the lease. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very good, because I mean, I think that the point is, what possibly we didn't get across in submissions was that, you know, the ultimate is we want the surf club to be there for 100 years. It's a matter of just processing the timings that we went through. So, you know, that's really the question.
Just through the chair, just a note as well. So generally that would happen, like that would be also obviously in consultation with the surf club as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is some flexibility available.
Yeah, through variations, that's right.
Good.
Just through the chair again, so I know the surf club have asked for a lease agreement with council, not the license to occupy process. So there's probably a little bit of difference there that, you know, your LTO gives non-exclusive use to a piece of land where leases generally give an exclusive use. Just a note to you. Yeah.
So that being the case, we've got concessions and things like that there. Whose responsibility is that to go through?
Through the chair, so for concessions, that's staff.
It is staff.
Staff
It is us.
work through those, yeah, and they'll work through that with the.
With the surf club.
Yeah, they'll put their submission in and we'll assess it and we'll staff will, yeah.
And concessions are granted, what, on an annual basis?
At the moment, yes, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else want to ask some questions of staff? Okay, thank you very much for presenting. Councillor Larson. Councillor Larson, sorry, not off the hook yet. You got your hand up
yes.
there.
Sorry. Thanks, Fleur. You just spoke about the difference between leases and licenses to occupy. Is the staff recommendation that another lease be granted, or are you suggesting that licenses to occupy are an option?
Through the chair, I know there's been some previous conversations with the surf club, and their preference is that they work under a lease with council.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess we'll need to go away until we and work through that and come back to the briefing with that, yeah.
So the staff don't yet have a position on whether staff prefer a lease or a license to occupy, or what do you mean?
Through the chair, probably, I mean, I guess it's really up to yourselves, really.
No, it's a lease under the Reserves Act.
Whoops, thanks.
Licensed to occupy are a different section under the Reserves Act and are a bit tricky. So we're looking at leasing.
Yes, so just to be clear, the surf club prefer a lease. We have consulted on granting a lease, and we are now deliberating on the granting of a lease. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarification. All right. No more questions to start? One more.
Sorry,
So Williams would like to ask a question.
For clarity, Mark, so you want us to give you direction on the time frame of the lease now? We do that and deliberate?
That's correct. Do we want to go through the key items? So should we start with the term of the lease? What is the recommendation to council there in terms of the recommended term?
Further question?
Well, I guess, can I give you my feedback on the lease time? Yeah.
Yes.
No, hang on, what we'll do is we'll do it through movers reply and your reply, and then we'll go to anyone else that wants to make a statement. And then, yeah, so we'll do it through that. So at this stage, I'll stand the staff down. Thank you.
Okay.
And then start with movers statement. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think at the end of the day, this is where the rubber hits the road, and another point is getting that assurity for the surf club that they have the support of council to get on and manage their business as best they can. So, I think that it's been a good process to go through. It's interesting, we don't do that many leases, really, up here. But I think that that's what we come up with will be a good affirmation for the surf club, that we want them here to stay. So do you want us to mention what term that we want?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I want to. Look, I'm working through the process here. You've made your statement, you get a right of reply. So now, Councillor Williams.
Look, I'll just add that it has been a good process. We've heard loud and clear from the community. And, I agree with what Councillor Howard has said so far. So, yeah.
Go to Councillor Larson.
I don't know whether I've missed something or not. I thought we were going to be deliberating on various components that were going to be recommended to the chief executive to negotiate a lease in terms of the term, location, and conditions.
Well, yeah.
And we've moved. Well, we are doing that now, are we?
Yeah. So
I didn't hear any mention of either of any of those three things and what the mover and the seconder have spoken to. So how do we speak to it? What do you want us to do? Do we just speak to it now then, or?
Yeah,
I'm happy to speak to it.
Now.
I'll speak to it. It might not be what the others agree with though, because they haven't said.
I know. So let's hear your statement.
Oh, what I took from the submissions that I heard was that there was quite a strong desire from the public to give the surf club security and a decent length of tenure so that they could fix the building and have security that they were going to be able to operate there properly and build the culture of the club and attract new members and all that sort of stuff. And so I at the end of that exercise was of a mind that we needed to provide that. And I thought that it would be appropriate to have a 33-year lease. Now, that was what I heard. I think that I also heard that they wanted to keep operating on that same site. So I think we should also give them that, let them have the same area I think that just needs to be checked because the lease document is so vague in the way it's been drawn. Let's check it against the new aerial, and let them keep their same conditions to be able to operate there in the way that they currently do. So those are the 3 points that I would make anyway. I think that was quite clear. Thank you.
Okay, look, I've been thinking about it as well, and it's become obvious, particularly when I said before how we had such a strong feedback from our community, and you know, we listened to them. And I think the biggest thing that came through is how the community highly values our surf lifesavers and our surf club and what they do down there. I mean, I went down there on Sunday and it was full of the nippers doing their thing. It's a glorious thing to see in a community where kids are being occupied doing positive stuff. So I think the surf club more than deserves to have a long-term lease of 33 years so that they can have that security of planning what they want to do and continue as the great community asset that we all know they are. I'm going to let Councillor Williams have another say because I think she was hanging off a little bit. I'll go back to her.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, look, I totally agree with the sentiments around the table. You know, we did hear that from the community loud and clear, and from the surf club, and it feeds into you know, the funding and that longevity that they need as a surf club to be able to, you know, get the funds they need and keep moving forward with the club. So yeah, I fully agree with the 32-year lease. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Councillor Howard, I'll leave you with the final say as I reply as the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good, right, we get to the number bit. We actually went through a process and had a good discussion, really good discussion with the surf club in coming up with the initial indication of 5 years and +1, +1, +1. And there was a reason for that. There was a concept plan and in train for us to, and everybody to work through. So there was a time, but then there was an affirmation that we would support them with a 33-year lease after that. Now, this all gives us time to, the few months have given us time to consider everything, and we've heard what the submitters say. Maybe there wasn't as much clarity in some of the paper that we put out to submitters, but they did come back with a really strong direction on 33 years. I think that the reasons that we went for the original option were good and valid, and they were certainly with the surf club. But on reflection, you know, giving the security to the surf club now to go forward positively, I think is the right thing for a wide range. And I don't think, and I certainly don't hope, I do hope, in fact, that it will encourage the surf club to look at all options that we're talking about in terms of this new plan. And so I am, on reflection, in support of an immediate 33-year lease. I think that signals, first base, a really strong support from the council.
Thank you, Councillor Howard, for the motion. So I can put this to the vote now. All those in favour raise their hand and say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Is that the end of our meeting? So I can conclude this meeting. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you to anybody who zeroed in, and I apologise for our technical issues. Sometimes they're the bane of Alana's life. It's very good meeting. Thank you. Meeting closed. Yeah.